Welcome to Calvinian architecture. Today I read from the third octave, the eighth chapter, Zemrude. It's the last chapter of the third octave. Keynote is me and the color is green. I become aware each time I point the camera to something, some fragment of my garden or studio or house, that it takes on whatever is within the frame and becomes the arena in which the story is recounted. And that's not my intention at all. My intention is to find an image of no consequence, a space that gives itself over to the story, but of course that can't happen. As you see clouds passing in the sky overhead, they become a Calvinian architecture. And so the quest is an impossible one. These stories were written in the year 2000 as part of a series of responses to Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities, and they were written 2 a day, each day for 55 days as part of a series of performances I presented in my back lane in Northcote. They were written all in one go with no punctuation and no editing. They followed a kind of breathing rhythm, and this is how I read them. Verse 2 and verse 3 of the 8th chapter in the 3rd octave. Verse 2. I'm moving down the grassy lane easily, fantasticando, as my mother says disapprovingly. It means daydreaming, but this word makes it sound somehow that the dreaming takes place much further away, but it's Brighton in 1958. Nearly dark, late anyway, on a summer evening with the sky fading opalescent green to the west. I'm swinging the string bag that smells like parmesan and olive oil that seeped somehow countless times from loose corks stuffed into the necks of dark green bottles bought from Victoria Market. The string bag smells like my father's underarms, and as I swing it around my head, crickets scream in the fields somewhere behind me. The iceworks lawns are trimmed neatly. The sign says 2 shillings for a big block. You slip the coin in and you hear the mechanical arm free it way up inside the machinery, deep in the factory's belly. You hear its rumble as it slides down the chute, and instantly it pushes past the rubber flaps onto the platform. You cover it with the bag, flip it upright and pick it up. You carry it with your right arm doing all the work. Now it's a race against its melting before you can get home to fit it into its galvanized iron coffin, I was going to say, because it is a little bit like a coffin, all grey and cold. Anyway, this coffin fits inside the icebox, cooling everything down for a day or so until it melts into grey putrid water that's emptied on top of the thriving tomato plants. On this particular night, I'm having trouble with the ice. It's melting way too fast against my leg. Suddenly someone's standing in front of me, glaring. I can't make out who it is, but he snarls something like, "I bet you oil your legs, don't you?" I drop the ice, then try to pick it up again with both hands. He knocks me off balance and is gone just like that. I'm off. I run home like the wind, leaving the bag and the ice behind. I try and explain what's happened, and by the time my father and I walk down there to get another one, it's dark. The bag's vanished. The ice has melted. Afterwards, I walk down that lane every day for months and months, each time wondering whether I imagined what I saw, each time feeling my skin crawling and hearing loud whistling like crickets. A year later, I noticed that a strange little plant has started sprouting where the block melted, or at least I think it's the same spot. It's got little red bell-like flowers on each stem. One day, and you won't believe this, one day I pick one little red flower from its stem and crush it between my fingers. I'm not sure why I do that, but it smells just like the string bag, just like my father's underarms. I run home and scrub my hands. Can't hold them under clear running water long enough, for long enough. Verse 3. $43,000 New Zealand dollars, 43, across the road from the southern, very southern Pacific Ocean, the Tasman Sea actually, and the sun sets right there, right across the road from the house, across the road from a broad expanse of newly mown grass. It's spring in New Plymouth. Across the road from the little rise from which you can see Taranaki and the port. Across the neighbour's lawn is Paula's house, only 3 doors down. I could get up in the morning and walk across the road to the cliff and see across the surf all the boats passing by me, across from me, and over there is Taranaki with a cross on its peak. I circle the house now, wondering if I could do it, if I could really do it. There's an hour to go before I have to decide. I sit on the veranda and watch the sun drop over the black sand. The grey, restless sea stirs across from me, directly across from me. I couldn't get any closer to the sea now, could I? So I try to think, what's important? What's important? What's important? What's important? What's important? It's been such a privilege to be able to read what this self wrote 20 years ago, and it's been intriguing to try and sense who that being might have been, not just that self, but of course all of the selves that are referred to in the story by the self who wrote them. I thank you for sharing this journey with me and for facilitating my discovery of who that self might have been. Tomorrow we begin the 4th octave. The first chapter, and the city is Aglaura. The keynote is Fa, and the colour is green. And the Calvinian architecture up there is being steadily assembled and disassembled. I look forward to tomorrow. Have a peaceful afternoon.